Howdy, hackers, and welcome to the stream. Sweet. I'm excited to see all of you. Awesome, awesome. Got a good crowd today still. Welcome back, everybody. Hope we're all are doing well. Hello, hello. Sweet. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so for today's stream, we're going to go ahead and jump back into some of the things that we did yesterday, probably doing some new things. Hello, hello. Probably do some new things as well, but it's going to be a great stream. So I'm going to go ahead and first and foremost, pull up some of the notes that we started taking yesterday. So we've got this one. I think it was happy.ac/-AI, I'm pretty sure. No, okay. AIML maybe? I'm trying to remember. There we go, got it. So the link for the stream guide was Kari AIML. Go ahead and pop that right on the bottom here, and then we'll also go ahead and ask any questions you have in the chat. Throughout, we'll go ahead and give everyone the chance to get the stream guide as well. So this is from yesterday. We got a brief start on it. If you are tuning in because you missed part one, that's kind of what we covered. It was a fun stream. So hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. But yeah, that's where you can find the stream guide. And as always, I would love to hear all of your questions in the chat. So if you have any questions you would like to ask throughout the stream, make sure you can go ahead and do that over on, you can go ahead and do that over on the live stream. So that'd be great. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll walk through some of the fun resources. So let's open up Notion here. I've got to open up the version that I can edit, and then pop this in here. Perfect. And then we've got this. Get this booted up. We'll bring the music back too. Let's bring some of the music back. It's good, and we'll turn it down a little bit as well. So I think that's good. Sweet. But yeah, you can go ahead and find the stream guide from yesterday right on there. I'll also go ahead and take this second to post the check-in link. So if you've not yet gotten a chance to check in, you can go ahead and do that over at the MLH website. So make sure you go ahead and give that a quick check-in. Much, much appreciated. It helps me to know that you are attending the streams and loving them, but also helps you, right? Gets you those sweet, sweet MLH swag points and gets you that little swag pack if that's something that you're interested in grabbing. So let's go ahead and bookmark this. So we've got our check-in links right up there, and I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. Sweet. Yep. So we've got right within here our Developing an AI ML Personal Project website. Yesterday we left off somewhere in this gathering and pre-processing data step. So we talked a lot about the best tools and practices for finding data sets, right? Talked about Hugging Face, Kaggle, and the US government's open data resources. These are all really, really helpful for actually finding good and vetted data sets, right? So you can have federal, state, city data sets based on climate, local governments, water, human services, energy, transportation. So if I look at transportation, for example, right, I have hourly precipitation data, border crossing entry data, daily climate normals, storm events, highway performance monitoring, feed grains, right analysis, shipping fairways, lanes and zones for water, food security, tons of different helpful information, which is awesome. And then also, you know, things like food, right? Food and vegetable prices. 153 commonly consumed and produced fresh foods and vegetables, right? So you can go ahead and then click through the data set and then see the prices in the right format, right? So now if I open it up, I'll be able to go ahead and share it through a different screen. Ooh, look at y'all. So there you go, right? So if I go ahead and share my screen now, go ahead and see the fruit prices in 2022, right? So we have apples, about 185 per pound, right? It says we yield about not much, right? Because you have to cut it. Apple sauce, about 117 per pound. Ready to drink apple juice, right? Per pint, concentrate. And then apricots, right? Fresh versus not. Mixed berries versus like blueberries by themselves versus like raspberries are down here. Got pomegranate juice, right? Plum juice, watermelon, honeydews, grapes, papayas. Where's strawberries? Yeah, right. Fresh versus frozen strawberries, and then the cost difference between those two, right? Things like that are just generally quite helpful for analyzing data sets and doing all of these important things. So that's a really, really great resource, right? For looking at these things. They also have another, they have archives for 2013, 2016, and 2020. So you can do like a project comparing some of the prices. They also have a vegetables database, which is fun. And these are done by like vetted resources, which is always great, right? Then we also have Kaggle, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. All right, so if I go ahead and share my screen. All right, we talked a little bit about Kaggle data sets, right? This is company employees. This is various like HR analytics, right? Random data sets if you want to like build out a corporate-based project. So it walks through like a sample employee database that, you know, just to not use actual identifying information, right? It can be used for various HR analytic tasks, such as analyzing salary trends, studying the impact of leaves on productivity, predicting employee turnover, generally like for learning, research application, or LLM fine-tuning. You also have Flipkart sales, mortality rate in the USA by gender area, healthcare data set, COVID-19 images, Daily Mail news text summarization, university students' mental health, collegiate sports, sleep, Titanic, welding defects, right? Driver status applications. This is like Poland and traffic road detection, right? Based on specifically roads in Poland, which is also very cool, right? So it talks about how the data split up, which is great. So one of the things to consider, right, whenever we are trying to find a data set for our project is also what we will need to do to pre-process our data. So there are different stages in which data sets can exist, right? So let's pull out a few examples that I think would be helpful. Let's do this coffee shop sales one, sign language detection using images. And yeah, so like, let's say this company employee data set, right? Let's say we want to go ahead and mostly focus on salary analysis or potentially employee insight or leave management. So these are things that we would then focus on like the bigger picture, right? So specifically, we would then be able to potentially wipe some of this information if we didn't need it, right? Also, sometimes it would be more helpful potentially to like split up the data into training versus testing. So if you can see for some of the data sets, right, this is already done. And for some of the data, it is organized significantly better than others. For example, the sign language detection data set, it's split up by specific letters, right? So it goes the letters and the numbers from A through Z, or yes, A through Z. Good. I was just checking, right? A through Z, and then 1 through 9, right? So it does include the number 0, for example, which is interesting. But generally speaking, like we have all of these, although also in sign language, like a 0 doesn't really matter as much because you probably like just start doing numbers going up in height once you get to 10, right? So that's something to consider as well. But generally you have, see, this is funny because this is not, right, so you would potentially have to pre-vet all of the data here. And that's something to consider. Like, for example, let's say I wanted to do a project on sign language detection. Here's why I would probably not select this data set personally. First, it depends on what the language is being used, right? So this, I already know a little bit about sign language. I happen to know a little bit about sign language. I know the alphabet in American Sign Language, right? I can immediately tell this is not American Sign Language. And based on the location, which we don't have much information on, right? It's hard for us to tell really what sign language this is. So like immediately from that, that's hard for me to like decide to be able to use this data set. And not to mention, you can also even see that when we have this drawing out here, right, of these signs, these don't match the signs that are then used in here, right? So if we have the, like, the C shown there is the full palm of the fist. The C shown here is the pinky and the individual, right? It goes like that. Those are different signs. So to me, that says if I wanted to do a project on American Sign Language, this is not a good data set. Although it's very deceiving, right? I immediately look at this and I'm like, oh, great, this is American Sign Language. I then click through and actually see this is not American Sign Language. So this actually ended up being a great example of why it's important to pre-process and look at our data set. So let's try and find a different sign language data set. I want something that's pretty large. Perfect, right? We have American Sign Language, right? RGB image data sets of American Sign Language alphabets. And here we have test and train data that's already split up and then within here, we can actually see, oh yes, these are actual American Sign Language, right? Because that's actually D versus F. And so that's important for us to know as well, right? But then if we look at the size of the trained data set, right? There are some differences between like this. It would be, for example, let's think through like, if I'm doing a RGB data set of sign language alphabets, right? And if I'm trying to do a computer vision project, what is some limitations of a data set like this, right? We already have a great example like this one. It looks like they did some shifts and some swaps for the data set. It would be really, really helpful too if we were increasing the size of this data set yeah, I'm actually going to dedicate a whole section to this on our little note sheet. So we'll do sample project, ASL, alphabet, with computer vision. All right, so first thing is to verify the accuracy of the data set. So it's Okay, so going back to this, in this example, I can already see this is slightly better data set than the previous one, just because these are not exact duplicates of the images. Like you can see some of them are slightly twisted, some of them are slightly different. That being said, like it's still like letter on a very blank background. Right. If I keep scrolling through it, let's see, right? Like all that I'm seeing really, just to start, is the same hand shape on the same white background. It's the same hand, clearly. Same white background, different positions. Let's actually look through our testing data just to double check. These are our training data, our testing data, right? I only have, yeah, so you can see in our testing data if it's like a good sample. Specifically for a project for like handshake detection. If we live in America, right, we've got lots of different skin tones. So also verify different hands and shapes, background colors, etc. So you want to have different variety of information within that data set, right? So if we like, maybe for like an initial hackathon project, this is a good RGB data set, right? Like it's a great start. Granted, if we wanted to build out something slightly more complex or even slightly more accurate, we need to go ahead and actually have versions of this, right? So we've got significantly better here, right? Of 3,000 files, different slightly backgrounds, like different slight variations of like contrast here. Still just one person taking the same photos with the same hands, which is not ideal. On the other hand, right, this one, we can see this is the Arabic alphabet sign language, right? So immediately I'm like, if I'm building a project based on American Sign Language, probably not the most helpful for me. But you can see this data set, on the other hand, has significantly more variety, right? We've got different hand shapes, different hands clearly, right? You can see by the nails, and also different backgrounds. This is significantly a better data set in that regard. This one could be another example. But these are collected from 173 volunteer individuals. Exactly, right? So with that, we are finally going to get some skin tone variety and also some background variety as well, which is important. Because if we are going to model this project, right, chances are we can't do it on a fully white background, right, fully clear. So this is a significantly better data set potentially, if we can figure out how to actually get this data out of here, right? Because all we have is X and Y NumPy files within here and not potentially the actual images. Yeah, so it walks through the process of how to actually go through these steps within here, which is great, right? But it requires kind of potentially reprocessing our data and getting it back from those NumPy files. So that sounds a little bit more frustrating than just having access to the straight images. And then also you have lots of different data sets for lots of different sign languages, right? So you have to verify what sign language it is. All right, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and take roughly 8, maybe like 10-ish minute breaks. I'll be back in at 1:30. We'll say 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, or like closer to 1:35 probably. We'll do 1:30. So we'll be back at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then we'll be back in those few minutes, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about different data sets. Right? So I will see you all in just a few short minutes. Alrighty, howdy hackers, welcome back. Sweet. Okay, as we were talking about, right, whenever we are researching some of our projects, important to kind of do research, right? Look through the data set, see that it's actually doing what you want it to do, right, specifically. So double check the pictures, double check the images, right? Then if we talk about something like coffee shop sales, right? Historical, specifically like information of the coffee shop sales, right? These are much easier to research just because it's an Excel file, right? So if I download it, then sign in. Let me go ahead and do that specifically. Should be good now. Right, so if I go ahead and download the coffee shop sales data set and then I open it up, and then I open the numbers file, I'll go ahead and share it, and then we'll talk through that as well. It's taking a while to open up because it is quite the big data set. So we'll give it a second. And then walk through that one as well. Man, my project is a mess. Let me not delete. Lots of different random things still in my downloads folder from school. This from sidebar and this from sidebar. Sweet. Okay, there we go. Here's what this coffee shop sales data set looks like, right? And specifically like looking at the dashboard and then the actual transactions, right? And this is going to take a while to open. But it walks through the transaction ID, transaction date, time, quantity, store ID, product ID, the price, product type, product retail, or product details, the revenue, right? So how much money they made off of it, which is the unit quantity, transaction quantity times the unit price. And then specifically, it also boils down to the hour, right? So for the specific locations, right? So it looks like this is based in New York City, right? Because we have Lower Manhattan, Hell's Kitchen, and then also Astoria, right? Which is out in Brooklyn, pretty sure. Right, so it walks through like what the locations are specifically doing, how much of everything they're selling. It's in Queens, thank you. I knew it was either Brooklyn or Queens, but I'm not the best with my New York City neighborhoods. My apologies. Right, but we've got all the list of all of the goods that are being sold, right? So for example, someone here bought, looks like this is probably the same person, right? So the person got 2 coffees, right? 2 large cappuccinos, with 3 shots of sugar-free vanilla syrup, and a scone, right? Because they all came in at $10.55. On the other hand, like we got this person making buying 2 cups of tea, this person buying 2 cups of coffee, this person buying 1 biscotti, right? Kind of walking through those purchases as well, right? And it keeps going for the next days and the next days and so on and so forth. Starts on January 1st, goes until, looks like we get into like, how long is this data set? Okay, 6 months. So it goes from January to June, end of June, right? It's interesting though to point out like January 1st, looks like the coffee shop was still open, which is fun. But granted, right? And so it's all 2023. So you have to ask yourselves like, okay, what are the chances this is actually a real data set? Like how many coffee shops do we know that were open in, granted, in New York City, but we're open on New Year's Day from, oh, you're so right, the back at 139 is still up. I always forget to get back. But going back to it, what's the chances that we have a coffee shop was actually open in New York City on January 1st from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., right? That's a little bit crazy. Even I know it's New York, but still, right? It looks like they had the exact same hours on New Year's Eve as they had on January 2nd. So like, or New Year's Day. So like, that's a little strange to me. Granted, right, you can see like the different transactions, the days of the week, the different transactions by the hour, transactions by product type, the product that revenue that they specifically bring in, right? So the types of coffee and what specifically they sell that makes them the most money, right? So it's so important stuff to know. But I would probably not think this was legit data. The reason why is that, like I mentioned, that January 1st thing, right? What are the chances you have a coffee shop that was fully open with standard hours on January 1st and sold the same amount of stuff it always sells? To me, that's slightly unlikely. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but like, where was this data acquired, right? Because we have, on the one hand, it is well documented and it's relatively clean. However, right, I'm kind of just like slightly concerned. But then you can see like there are similar data sets, right, from which they take and then visualize the information. I would show you, but I'm not sharing my screen. Exactly. New Year's Day is a ghost town, not to mention that like the chances that the business is going to be open for the exact same hours as it's open on like the Monday of like New Year's Day, right? Because if this is like thinking back to how calendars work, like I'm gonna check this now. Out of curiosity, like like I know it's New York, I do, but January 2023, yeah, January 1st was a Sunday. So the chances that you would be open on New Year's Day, right? January 1st, New Year's Day, you'd be open and make the same amount of money and have the exact same hours as you would on January 2nd, which is a Monday, so people are going back to work. To me, that's unlikely. So I'd be like, I don't know if this is a data set that I really want to use for like accuracy. Great for like testing stuff, right? For fun. Like, oh, I want to build out like some coffee shop analysis. Not for like, oh, I want to model business trends, right? Actual business trends from actual companies. So we kind of have to treat this data set probably more similarly to like something like this fake company employees. But for this fake company employees, like I'm hoping that, you know, it's fake company employees, that they're not real. But, you know, you never know. That's kind of the downside of working with data sets like this, is that it's hard to tell like what is real and what isn't. So that's also something else to consider. It's also why I like the US government's data set, right? Because for this one, we know that these have been vetted by some like major government entity, so you know that these are legit, right? So if could I find anything on coffee here? Let's see. Do you have anything on coffee? US food imports, right? For example, Allegheny County assets, Lego. Ooh, I'm curious. I'm gonna look at that. I love Legos. Fun fact. Coffee break. Oh, so it's a resource. Okay. Airborne geospatials in southern Alabama. Okay. Next is what I'm looking for. But like, it makes sense that the US government is not reporting on individual coffee shops like sales statistics. On the other hand, it would be much more helpful. Wait, I would love to see these. Oh my goodness! Wait, that's so cute. Okay. Shout out to Allegheny County in Pennsylvania for doing that. That's really fun. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit for our next part of the stream. I wanted to chat a little bit about selecting tools and technologies. So specifically like deciding what you're going to make your project with and kind of why. So when it comes to that, right, one of the big things that I see is sometimes people make decisions based on tools and technologies just because they've heard that something is really cool or they want to try it out, and they just kind of are like, oh, I really, really want to build a project in PyTorch because I've heard PyTorch is cool or important or relevant or whatever. Granted, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, you're more than welcome to use PyTorch if that's what you like and want and need, etc. But let's also keep in mind, right, that like using PyTorch just because I've heard PyTorch is cool is not necessarily always like the best thing for every project. So we can sometimes think through, like, for data sets or for things that we're using. If we go back to our, does data.gov also contain data about humans? Yeah, I mean, as for example, like crime data from 2020 to present, and this specifically for the Los Angeles Police Department, right? This LAPD. So we'll see. We're gonna let it download, and then we'll see what the data looks like for an example. But yeah, oh, there you go. Lottery Powerball winning numbers, for example, right? National obesity, right? Alzheimer's disease, healthy aging data, COVID-19 outcomes by vaccination status, national student loans, right? So these are all kind of dealing with people. More specifically, census data, right? So this is one that's really helpful for like walking through some things, right? So this is census data. I would love to see the census data. But I digress, right? So you would have to probably like verify what that looks like more specifically. Census data, there we go. Right? Disability data broken up by gender and age, race and ethnicity, the low and moderate income summary data, right? So potentially we could look at that. See what it looks like opened up. Yeah, right. So if I looked at that data set, if I open it up, then, right, we're seeing a lot more of like talking through specific cities, right? So it goes in list of states, and then low moderate percentage, right? So Auburn, Alabama, right? Talking through some cities in Alabama, for example. Then this is what Arkansas, yeah, Arizona, California, right? So like out of curiosity, like what's a city that I associate with being relatively expensive? Mountain View, right? Mountain View, California, where Google's headquartered, or Newport Beach, right? Relatively expensive, very expensive area. Palo Alto, right? Versus like comparing it to something like even like LA proper, right? Or which was that, like what, 51% Los Angeles? Yeah, 51%. Or, you know, then Huntington Park, right? California. Or so like Santa Ana, right? So comparing these cities can also give you some additional information, right? Fresno County also goes through by counties, right? And list them out, right? So talking about like the Santa Clara County versus Sonoma County, right? Or then you have Colorado, right? Denver versus Fort Collins versus Boulder, right? Connecticut, Delaware, for example, right? Delaware, Wilmington. Or like if we go through like where I live, right? Currently, or some of the places near me, right? So we've got like Hendersonville versus Memphis versus Murfreesboro, right? Versus Nashville, Davidson proper, right? Knox County, Shelby County, kind of reporting on these information. It obviously doesn't have every city, but granted, I'd be shocked if every database had every city, right? So something to consider. But also, right, when we look through some of this like census data, there are, yes, to answer your question, lots of different data sets that still involve like humans and their information and their learning that are more legitimate, right? That's kind of the perk of the US government data sets, as opposed to like using some other resource that you won't really have to worry as much about like the data not being as accurate. I love the Hugging Face data set specifically, and I'll share my screen here because they are the best at being beginner friendly. So they'll have tutorials, right? Or welcome to the Hugging Face datasets tutorials, right? How to quick start, how to install, right? How to load a dataset from the hub, how to pre-process, right? Specifically talking about evaluating predictions, creating datasets, sharing it to the hub, loading, processing, streaming, using with TensorFlow, PyTorch, JAX, Spark, right? So Hugging Face is great because they already have built-in tutorials for how to work with the datasets built onto their platform, right? So you don't have to worry about it as much on your end, right? So you don't have to worry as much with the tutorials, right? Compared to something like Kaggle, where that data set we looked at earlier with the, what was it? The sign language, right? Where you would have to take the NumPy files and figure out how to reprocess them kind of yourself. But then someone had questions on how to do it, and then there was just like a response, right? And they were like, "Oh yeah, you do it this way, obviously." So that's harder kind of to consider. Ooh, Olympic data sets. Hold on. This is cool. They love Olympic stuff. The Olympics is one of my favorite times of the year. Just I love talking about I don't know, just super fun. So like things like that are really cool. Or like global YouTube statistics, right? Things like this. Electric vehicle sales, employee data, kind of all over. All these very, very cool. But yeah. Let's talk a little bit about selecting tools and technologies. So what I like to recommend is for beginners. Use data sets, projects, tools, and resources with specific, clear, and beginner-friendly tutorials. Right? The goal of this is spending more time. I know. No, I just finished watching Olympic speed climbing the other day. And so I'm originally Polish, and so I was watching women's speed, and women's speed had a medalist from Poland in gold and bronze, and I was just like, yeah, look at us crush it, right? But also it's just like, I don't know, I love cheering on the stuff. There was this photo going around that like Simone Biles can like jump and flip higher than Shaquille O'Neal. Like she can jump over Shaquille O'Neal. And now there's like a bunch of people going around and trying to figure out if Simone Biles can dunk a basketball by doing a flip of a ball. And I would love to see that. Just saying. Yeah, no, there's this really funny photo of them. There's like, she's 4'10", I think, and he's like 7'2". And like they look like it's like it's like a human and like two humans. It's so funny. Yeah, she's a very small person, but she jumped like her vertical was like 12 feet or something like that. Like it was insane. I was like reading about it. Yeah, I was reading about that, and then I also spent this morning reading about the new sports that are coming to the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, and then how like you make decisions to like keep certain sports over others. Because like every time you have an Olympics, like some sports, like some countries can pick that like there's specific sports that they want to add that are temporary or like permanent. So for 2028, rock climbing, there are 3 sports that were new in Tokyo that are now permanent. I'm gonna look them up. Yes. Yeah, so skateboarding, sport rock climbing, and then surfing are now permanent Olympic sports. Breakdancing is not coming back in 2028. Los Angeles said that they will not be bringing it back. But to be fair, that was not announced like this year. It was announced in October of last year. So yeah, no, surfing is always very cool. And they're gonna host it in Los Angeles, which will be nice. Like this year, surfing had to be in Tahiti, right? So they had to be on a cruise ship and like on a beach. And then boxing is leaving the Olympics actually because of some like corruption allegations, which is a little wild. But then, yeah, 6 new sports in 2028: flag football, squash, and then baseball and softball are both coming back in Los Angeles. The reason why they were in Tokyo, both baseball and softball. They weren't in Paris and they weren't in Rio because neither Paris nor Rio had baseball venues, and they didn't want to build a baseball venue. But Los Angeles, although I think actually they're hosting baseball in Oklahoma. Let's create a model that predicts which sports get dropped or picked up. Honestly, true. That would be really fun. And then lacrosse is coming back for the first time in like over 100 years. The last time lacrosse was in the Olympics was in 1908. And then cricket is also coming, which is really fun. Although, like, cricket is interesting because a lot of people, like, I don't know a lot about the history of cricket, but I know that the Indian Cricket Federation, which is arguably the most renowned cricket federation, is very against cricket being an Olympic sport. So I'm interested to see, like, what happens with that. Although we'll really, I think we'll get to see what happens anyway. But yeah, no, I love this idea. Predict which sports get dropped or picked up. We're gonna add it into the project idea. Granted, like, don't quote me on that, right? I was just reading a few articles about it, but that's one of the. It's kind of how similarly to how the Major League Baseball, so like U.S. baseball, opposed baseball in the Tokyo Olympics because it meant that in order to get a lot of the really good players to compete, they would have to like suspend or like limit their time on because it's during baseball season. And so a lot of people, like, that wasn't really something that people wanted, I think, was the issue from like baseball. And so from what I heard, cricket kind of had the same issue with cricket joining the Olympics, or like the Indian Cricket Federation had the same issue with cricket joining the Olympics as like the Canadians have with hockey in the Winter Olympics, and then the Americans have with baseball. Specifically, that like it cuts into the professional season of the athletes. So like, for example, like right now, like when you play Olympic basketball, like you have a lot of the really like great like basketball stars, but since it's off season, like they can take time to compete in the Olympics and like it's fine. But I think because of when the seasons are, like they don't like the fact that it like clashes with the season, or like it's right before or right after the season, I think. Which is interesting. I would love to see Olympic cricket. Just saying. I think it's a cool sport. But yeah, that's a little bit of a fun fact about. Yeah, there you go. Right. So if the season is the whole year, then they were like they just don't want it taking away from the season, effectively, because then they're like, oh, like how do we like deal with like people traveling, competing, right? Like doing it during that time. So actually, I know for a fact that when Japan hosted baseball last, like in 2020 or 2021, I suppose, they suspended the entire baseball season for another year. Like it was already suspended during COVID, and they kept suspending it so that the Japanese team could compete in the Olympics with like their best athletes. But then it, takes away money from like the actual baseball, like the baseball association there specifically. Although baseball in Japan is huge, surprisingly. Like I think it's one of the bigger sports. Like it's very interesting. Motorsports in Olympics would be so cool. And we already have a lot of sports that are like equipment based. If that makes like, what I mean? Like, I always think of luging, like the winter sport, right, where they sit in the little luge and they go like 200 miles an hour or something, which is crazy. But I would love to see motorsports in that realm too. There's so many sports I like would love to see, just like more of. Like, I don't know. Like, I think what's been helping though is like social media. I think like helping some of these sports blow up and like be really cool. Like Alana Mahler, who's like the women's rugby player. Like so many people have been tuned into women's rugby now because of her, which is like so fun. At least like a lot of my friends are finding out a lot more about rugby, and I'm like, yeah, look at us go. Um, like tuning in to like prime time, and like it's not just the same sports. Like in the US, we call it like I feel like a lot of the sport broadcast is like the big three. So like American men's football, right? And then men's basketball, and then baseball, like men's baseball. Like those are really like the three prime time sports. So I always like seeing more like variety. Like I was at a restaurant the other day and I got to watch what was it, like the Little League softball championship. So like the girls under 13 like competing in like the US championships for softball, which was so cute. Um my goodness, but we are getting off task here. Whew. Okay. It is 1 o'clock. I know, right? It's so cute. They're so cute. They were so excited too because it was like it's like they compete in their own conferences first, right? And then the winners of the conferences get to compete with the winners of the other conferences to like crown a winner. And so the match that I was watching, I think it was like Washington versus California, and the winner of that would get to play like the winner of the Southern Conference. And they were just like so cute. They're like little 12-year-olds. I'm just like, so sweet. Okay, I do want to call a quick 10-ish minute break. So we can go ahead and come back and talk a little bit about products, and maybe get started on something super quick. But I'm gonna go ahead and call our quick 10-minute break. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Oh my goodness, I had the back in a few minutes sticker going the entire time. I do that so often. All right, well, thank y'all, chat. I will see y'all in just a few short minutes. It's been a great stream so far. See y'all in a few. Wait, hi hackers, welcome back. Okay, so as we talked about right before I left, I'm currently looking for fun Olympic data sets. I would like to do a fun project maybe related to the Olympics. So we've got some data sets, Olympics, share this tab. Olympic medals, Summer Olympic medals, Country Olympic medals since 1896. Tweets on the Tokyo Olympics. That'd be cool. Here is Olympic Games. Sweet. Okay. Okay, so this is the athlete. Country, nationality, yeah, okay. Events, medalists, medals, medal totals, schedules preliminary, teams, torch route, venues. Okay. This looks like a good data set potentially for events. Yeah. Athletics, swimming, archery, and then sports. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I think maybe this, like with the events and then the schedule. Right? You have the start date, right? And then the end date. Potentially see what sports are popular, potentially. So yeah, I think I definitely want the events.csv file. I think that would be helpful. And then maybe we'll stick with events.csv for now. And let's boot it up and see what it looks like on the inside. I'll share my screen here. So we can see archery, artistic gymnastics, athletics, right? Badminton, boxing, canoe, wrestling. Where's breakdancing? Breaking. It's up here. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, canoe, cycling. Oh yeah, BMX, which is fun. Cycling, track, diving, equestrian fencing, golf, handball, hockey, judo. That's crazy. Marathon swimming, pentathlon, rhythmic gymnastics. Right. Okay, so if I wanted to process this data a little bit further, what I would probably do is find a list of permanent Olympic sports. Okay, so we can see a list. Well, I'll actually share this screen now instead. So we could make our own data set for Olympic sports things, right? So you can see a list. Here's a list of all of the sports and then all the events starting with the 1896 Olympics, right? So we would have, right, then see, these are the, I believe, no, so the 32 sports that are included, right? So the code, and then the pictogram. These are always so cute. I love the little pictograms. And then baseball and softball, right? So baseball and softball. Last Pelota. Ooh. Cricket, yes. Croquet. Ooh. Vaulting. Driving. Now we just have a question: dressage, eventing, and jumping. Got it. Field handball. Jeu de paume. Oh. I did not even know this was a sport. I feel so educated now. Karate, cross polo, rackets, rope. Union rugby. Tug of war is such a fun. I want tug of war to come back into the Olympics. We'll do that. Water motorsports, figure skating, ice hockey, and now those are in the Winter Olympics. Yeah, no, tug of war. Bring back tug of war. We've not had tug of war since 1920. Sounds fun. Yeah, then boxing. When is this ending? We end at 3 p.m. Eastern. So, well, let me get my banners back to what they need to be. But we're ending at 3 p.m. Eastern. So in about a little bit less than 30 minutes, or a little bit more than 30 minutes. We might end a couple of minutes early because I'm pretty sure there's a stream after me. I want to make sure that they can get set up on time. So, let's see. The best way to probably do this, like to build out this data set, would be to do like an inclusion of what the sport is. Like, so if I'm trying to think through how to organize this, right? What I'm thinking is do like name of sport. Let me make a table real quick. So I do name of sport. And then inclusion from 1896 to 2024, right? And you just go like, yes, yes, no, 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 etc., right? And then you'd there'd be a check for whether it's a permanent sport, right? And then we go from there. Okay. So let's make that. We do, and we probably follow similar format to this. So let me share this screen, right? So we're pre-processing some Olympic data. And you know what? We can try and upload it to Kaggle or something. So, right, we've got event. So this would be, I almost want to do that, right? Men's individual archery, women's individual archery, men's team archery, men's team archery, mixed team archery, and then men's all around, artistic, gymnastics, right? Men's floor exercise, gymnastics, men's pause horse. No, I want mixed team archery. Yeah, men's team. What comes all around. This makes sense. Two-way artistic swimming, team artistic swimming. And this will be athletics. Actually, no, this doesn't make sense. Okay. No, I like their labeling system more. It makes more sense. Oh. So it goes like men's, individual, right? And then we have ag sport code. Sure. I think we can go ahead and delete the sport URL. Let's select all of them. And then we'll do permanent sport. Right, so permanent sports in the Olympics, please. Formerly optional skateboarding, sport climbing, and surfing are in. So skateboarding, title permanent sport, yes. We'll do Y. Permanent sport, or we could do 1. Permanent sport, men's street, right? So these are also all new permanent sports. Drag down the value, please. Or will you not do that? Oh, great. So sports climbing and surfing are now all permanent sports. I just realized these are all next to each other in alphabetical order. Swimming is absolutely permanent sport. I know that for a fact. So is table tennis. Actually, is table tennis? I don't know. I know for a fact. Yeah, what's the list of permanent Olympic sports? Boxing, modern pentathlon, and weightlifting. Modern pentathlon and weightlifting are reinstated. So, sports. 27 of the core Olympic sports. That's since 2016. Oh. Modern pentathlon is going to feature obstacle courses instead of horse riding for the equestrian. Yeah, so what are the 27 core Olympic sports? Can I have a list of the 27 core Olympic sports? Okay, so we have aquatics, that's artistic swimming. Okay, it's an unofficial sport with demonstration. It's not the same thing. So Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and mark all of these sports as permanent for now, and then remove the ones that are not confirmed to be no longer permanent, if that makes sense. So archery, artistic gymnastic, athletics, yep. Badminton, I think, is permanent. Badminton, let's double check. Yes. Badminton is not permanent. Breaking is not permanent. We know that. Breaking is not coming back. Neither is boxing, actually. So boxing is not coming back. Tentatively, neither is breaking. And then we have coming back in 2028. We have yeah, what we will have to do, I'm pretty sure, for processing this data is like go through the list of events, probably. Interesting. I'm trying to figure out a good way to edit this data here, right? So we have archery, permanent sport, and then I feel like adding the columns after, right? So permanent sport. That was perfect. Yeah, permanent sport and then sport code. All right, so sport code, the tag. We have here, right? See, this is cool. Firefighting used to be an Olympic sport, y'all. And also wushu, which is fun. Life-saving, sick. Kite flying, fun. So we did have motor and motorcycle racing in the 1900s for whoever said they wanted motorsports. Pigeon racing is cool. The 1900s, they really decided to try out a bunch of them, huh? Yo, I want Olympic bowling. Why don't we have Olympic bowling? I feel like that's one that we would, like, I would totally watch. Roller hockey, nice. Okay, perfect. This is kind of what I was looking for. So so perfect. Let me get this over here. And then I'm not even sharing that screen anymore. Yeah. So, okay. 3x3 basketball, right? It's been included since 2020. So I think I would go like, if I were to do, it would be like 1896 inclusion, right? Then you would do 1900, right? And then start adding columns, right? So you'll go like 1904, so on and so forth, right? So we can add columns after. Add more columns, please. You're right. Sorry. Still on the wiki. I don't think I'm going to have time to finish this data set before the end of this, before the end of the stream. But what I would really like to do is like finish it on my own. So I'll probably actually work on that and then share it on Kaggle, and then y'all can use it in your future projects if you're so inclined. But I'm gonna keep working on it until the stream ends, just because we can do that. So I'm gonna drag this out. Okay, I'm in 1988. Wait, so let me do a couple more of these, right? Like, ooh, my goodness. Using numbers is hard. Add rows after, or add columns after, right? Okay, I'm in 2012. Okay, so we're almost there. And they've announced what sports will be in 2028. So we will use that as our last data set. Perfect. Okay. So 1896. Let's start with archery. Archery was from 1900s to 1908, 1920 to 1972. I need to remember what years the Olympics didn't happen. So, yeah, there was no Olympics in. So 1896 we had the Olympics. 1900s we had the Olympics. 1904, 1908, 1912, and then we skipped 1916 because World War I. So you can delete this column. We have 1920. 1924, 28, 32, 36, and we skipped 40 and 44 because war again. So delete columns. And then we have 48, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88, 92, 86, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024, and 2028, yes, and then 2032, 2036. Let me look if they've announced the 2032 sports. Not seeing the official sport list for 2032, so we won't include that. Cool, cool, cool. Mm-hmm. Ah, perfect. So we have a popularity rating. As well that we can use to make our data set. So we'll definitely use that. No, not that one. Add column after popularity. Cover. For popularity, it looks like athletics, aquatics, and gymnastics all fall into A. Athletics. All right, so let's go through athletics. Ah. No. You are all A's. So that means that you will have to. Yep, so we go until the end of athletics here, right? So athletics, aquatics, that's artistic swimming, diving, swimming, and water polo. So, and then gymnastics, right? Okay, gymnastics is also an A sport. So A, and then drag both of these down. Finish out artistic gymnastics and also artistic swimming. Cool. The new stuff, diving is an A because swimming, swimming, fencing is an golf, judo, marathon swimming. I'm pretty sure counts as an A. Not pentathlon. Rhythmic gymnastics counts as an A because gymnastics counts. And then swimming, yeah, swimming. Where did swimming go? I lost all of the swimming. Yeah, I'm happy to share the data set if we need to. Or I'm happy to share the data set. I think will be fun. Cool. So we've got swimming wrapped up here, and then athletics, aquatics, gymnastics. Number hold on. Number 6. So it encompasses artistic swimming, diving, swimming, and water polo. Cool. So A and A. So F is just unranked, I'm pretty sure. Right? Like, those are the new ones. Yeah, so it looks like there's 5 categories. And then we have basketball. Cycling. Oh, there's a lot of cycling, so we can just... Yeah, basketball, cycling, football, tennis, and volleyball. Football. Ball, tennis, and then volleyball. Triathlon is also an athletics event, so that also trampoline gymnastics is also technically a gymnastics event, so that would also get an A. Right, swimming. Basketball, cycling, football, tennis, volleyball. Okay. And then, I mean, not for this, like, I think for this, like, there's really no better way to do it. Like, I would probably use Google Sheets or, like, anything else if I could, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's really no better way to go about doing that. Archery, you got Batman. Let me double check that we don't have another stream after me, or I don't remember whether we do or not. So, let's see. See, I'm pretty sure we might. And I don't want to cut into their time, and we're trying to cut close. August 11th. Yeah, okay, so we do have Cecilia coming on right after me. So I'll make sure that we are done by 2 o'clock so she can get started almost on time. Okay, and then we have beach volleyball. Oh, that would fall into B because it's volleyball. Boxing is C. Ah. Breaking is a new sport, so it goes under F. Canoe. Canoe is D. Okay. Cool. All the canoes are D. Then diving, then equestrian. What category is equestrian under? Also D. Cool. So D, right? Grab these, pull them down. Ooh, where's fencing? Where is fencing? D. Okay, cool. So it's also in D, so you can go in with that then. Where is golf? Golf is in E. Okay. Where is handball? Handball is D as well. What about hockey? Field hockey, D. Okay. Judo is C. Cool. All the judo sports go up to C. Modern pentathlon is in E. Rowing is in C. That's cool. Yeah, I think like I haven't just experimented enough with pandas to really like be able to do it well. Rugby in sevens is E. Sailing is D. Right, so sailing. Shooting is not, it's C. Cool. Then skateboarding is F. Sport climbing is F. Surfing is F because it's new. Athletics, table tennis. C. Cool. Taekwondo, D. Then weightlifting. Weightlifting C. wrestling, knee. Yeah, it is almost time to end. I know. We'll be done soon. Cool. And then, so in 1896, what sports do we have in the 1896 Olympics? We have this. I'll just start with the events. Okay. Events had athletics, gymnastics, but they definitely did not have most of these, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it looks like they had one event in wrestling. I doubt it was the men's. Yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit more complicated, but that's all right. Cool. In that case, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, and stop sharing that as well. Go ahead and save these. Then we've got our everything on here. So yeah, we're almost done, but generally I thought that was pretty fun, and thank y'all for joining me. It was fun to get to chat about the Olympics for a prolonged period of time. That was really, really fun, actually. And yeah, and also building out a data set with me. As always, thank y'all for coming. I hope you enjoy our next Cool Hack Week stream, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Sunday or Monday, wherever you happen to be in the world. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you all, I think, at the next Cool Hack Week. So, bye everybody.